Okay, everybody, good late afternoon. More pro football focused stuff to take a look at here before we wind down the day. Now we're doing the defense, and this was the side of the ball that I think, for the most part, held up really well yesterday. The offense did have moments of high quality play, but overall ended up being kind of Whereas the defense, I feel like the only real issue they ran into that hurt them was they don't have the nose tackles to hold up when they get to the back end of their roster. Like Bubba Thomas and Uso Suamalo, they just can't hold their ground in the middle there. So other than that, I feel like the defense showed some real improvement this week, especially with the pass rush. I think there was actually a noticeable presence in the backfield fairly consistently on passing plays. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. So let's go ahead and get into it. You can see that right away we've got some pretty high grades at the top here. Jamie Sheriff was our leading defender by a long shot. He played a really good game, got pressure, made some other plays as well against the run. He was a very, very good and very improved player this week, and he's a guy who is fighting to make this roster, and there's a couple other guys that are involved here, and some of them played well yesterday too, so I think that is a hotly contested spot, trying to get that fifth edge spot if we decide to carry a fifth one. Jamie Sheriff, right now, with the game that he had yesterday, is going to be near the top of that list. So, really good game from him. Michael Dansby, this one surprises me, and in fairness, PFF even reflects this. He did such a bad job coming up in run support and tackling. I thought for sure he was going to be lower than this, but as you can see, this pretty much all stems from his cover grade, which I don't know how to feel about that. Like, he had twice as many run defense plays as he did coverage grades. So how can you give him a really high grade for really good coverage when the tackling and run support ended up actually having a bigger impact in this game? I don't know about that. Chow Surratt graded really high too. I thought he played really well. Big improvement for him. The sack he had was awesome. And Connor O'Toole, maybe our best defensive player in this game in my mind, graded really well, living in the backfield. Constant pressure on whoever the quarterback was at the time. And he's another guy who's fighting for the roster. And the way that he played yesterday, he looks like a guy who might be ready to do a little bit in the NFL. I don't know, but he looked really good yesterday. That was probably the best game he's ever played. And we're headed in the right direction. And rounding out the top five would be D'Anthony Bell, who played almost the whole game. That one is going to be important now, too, by the way, because of Clark. Yeah, D'Anthony Bell, 77.9, mostly on the back of a good cover grade and a good run defense grade. So that's going to be crucial here because Bell may end up being a somewhat important player for us this year. And if that is indeed the way it plays out, we're going to need him to be able to play well defensively. Mostly, I think he's brought in to be a special teamer and somebody who is useful as like a gunner. But if we don't replace Clark with an outside free agent, I think Bell's going to get some regular snaps defensively too. Pritchett, really good grade too. That's really cool. Cover grade, solid. Tackling grade, really good. He had that one really nice tackle coming up in run support on a screen. So not run support, but nevertheless, really good tackle. That's the kind of stuff we needed to see. Maxon Hook, that's a name to watch for, by the way. I know Corbin's hyping him. Maxon Hook might be a guy who gets some opportunities here because of no Bud Clark. So good to see him get some love for this game. All right, guys, let's take a quick break here to talk a little bit about Prize Picks, currently the #1 sports pick app in America. The app is very easy to use. Check it out to my left here. You can do player picks, where you just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Or you can pick teams, where you pick winners, spread, or total on any game or fight. The app is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. Right now, they have a great offer. You can play your first $5 lineup and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you have to do is use code HMA when you sign up. It's a brand new offer. Best time possible to get on the app. So get on over there and get to winning that first lineup. So remember, Prize Picks, code HMA. Download the app today, and remember to always gamble responsibly. Aaron Smith with a good grade as well, which surprised me. He was one of the guys who I thought didn't play very well. Jalen Gaines, strong. AJ Finley, and he's another guy who might get involved a little bit here more than we thought as a safety, graded pretty well. And then you got Mike Morris, respectable. Nothing stand out this week, but I definitely have an eye on Morris. He could be a relatively important part of this team, considering he can play multiple positions and also helps on special teams some. And then you've got kind of your cutoff, right? You've got the cutoff at that point where now you're getting into players that were more just kind of okay, forgettable, mixed bag, however you want to quantify it. But that is a pretty decent batch of players that stood out positively. So overall, I think the defense, we got a lot of positive data this week. Pretty happy about most of the group, I think. And even Andre Fuller, like I haven't mentioned him yet, but he played a good chunk of this game. And look, the tackling and run defense, yeah, it's a problem. And we knew that watching the game. There were a couple plays where I just thought he wasn't coming up aggressively enough, but the cover grade is good. And look, I don't think either player's ready to play in the NFL yet, because you got to be willing to come up and stick your nose in there if you're going to play in this defense. But Andre Fuller and Michael Dansby, at least they're getting some love for their cover abilities. Clark only played the one snap, which we don't need to talk about that. Marvin Jones played 7 snaps, so not much there. Jared Ivey, I was a little surprised by this. I thought he played pretty good. Did not get graded well, mostly because his pass rush grade was poor, which, I mean, obviously he didn't stand out like some of the other guys. I didn't think it was that bad. Jordan Washington, the tackling stuff hurts. And Noah Igbenogany, really not a good grade at all, almost entirely because of coverage. I know he had the penalty, but I understand PFF probably doesn't differentiate for stuff like this, but I mean, that penalty he picked up, I don't think that gets called in most games. So I can't really get too mad about that. So I think this is probably missing it a little bit. Chris Paul Jr., way too low. I thought Chris Paul actually played a good game for us. It's mostly because of the cover grade, which, okay, fine, but it wasn't that bad. So I'm having a hard time with that one. I thought Peely played a lot better than this too. I guess he missed a tackle, and that's always going to really ding you and stuff like this. But overall, I thought that Peely looked way better than the other noses we had out there. Riley Mills only 11 plays, but he got graded really poorly, mostly because of, you would think run defense stuff, but in this particular game, no, because almost all of his snaps were pass rush snaps. I don't really know what to make of that, but one way to look at it is he is the best defensive tackle that we had play in this game, so he's probably getting double teamed a lot. Might go back and look at that to see if that's the case. Bubba Thomas, yeah, you can just see most of the guys down at the bottom here are the nose tackles, and you can see that they're just not. They don't get the job done. Bubba Thomas, J.R. Singleton, Devin Eastern, Uso Suamalo, all those guys got really bad grades. And that's why the Titans came back and beat us. We could not stop the run in the second half. And those guys are a big reason why. You also had Power Equals here, who had a bad game. But he's a guy with no real chance to make the team. So I don't think we're sweating that. And then you had Aiden Hubbard, who did not really do a lot to take advantage of his opportunity this week. Poor grade, really bad tackling grade. And everyone else just kind of jumped him, right? It felt like all the other edges were playing pretty well, and he just didn't take off with them. So most of the stuff here is good, man. Most of it's good. Some concerns, I suppose. Mainly like the Riley Mills thing. If this is legitimately reflecting reality, and I don't know if it is, that would be a concern because he's the one guy that you know is going to play non-trivial snaps this year on the defense. And Igbenogany too, but I'm pretty sure that was all because of the penalty. So a couple of things I want to take a look here on this chart before we move on. Missed tackles. Dansby had 1. Bell had 1. Hook had 1. Fuller had 1. So a lot of guys in the secondary missing tackles. Healy missed a tackle. Eccles missed a tackle. J.R. Singleton, I think that was the one where he got stiff-armed. And then Hubbard missed a tackle. So nobody missed more than 1, which is good, I think, because missed tackles are going to happen. And you don't have to make a huge deal out of every single missed tackle. Sometimes just stuff happens, but it adds up. And 8 missed tackles is not going to make McDonald happy. And stops is the other thing I want to look at here. A lot of stops. What that means is we had a lot of good productive tackles. Tackles well short of the line to gain. Tackles that, stopped the opposing offense from getting the yards they wanted to get. Surratt had 3, which is good. Sheriff had 2. A bunch of other players up here had 2. Of all people, J.R. Singleton, who did not play well, actually had 5 stops. So even in a bad game where he kind of looked bad a few times, still ended up making a lot of positive plays. Okay, run defense. Kind of a rainbow here. You got a good amount of green at the top, yellow in the middle, orange at the bottom. So the orange, a lot of it is, like I said, the nose tackles that just did not perform very well. The stops, you can see Chris Paul had a couple, Ivy had a couple, Bubba Thomas, and like I said, Singleton had a bunch, but for some reason, despite all the stops, they still thought he played miserably. And if you watch that game, you can get a pretty good idea of why. You can look at the average depth of tackle as well to see that some of these guys, like D'Anthony Bell, he's up at 7, but then you got a guy like Chris Paul who's at 0.7, so you can see the discrepancy. And yeah, that's really about all you can take from this. Again, the run defense grades, I like to look at them, but sometimes I feel like it doesn't jive with what I see. I don't totally trust PFF when it comes to ranking defensive stuff. I feel like they're better on offense. Pass rush, it was a few guys that really tore it up out there, but they tore it up. Connor O'Toole, 6 pressures, 2 sacks, 4 hurries. Jamie Sheriff had 3 pressures, including a sack. Surratt had the sack. So it was just a few guys really standing out here, but they stood out really, really strongly. And this was, to me, the main improvement. We actually got pressure consistently on Titans quarterbacks throughout the day. And remember, guys like Cam Ward can scramble and evade pressure. So it's tough to get those guys down. Jalen Gaines had the 1, but pretty much everyone else here got poorly graded in the pass rush department, so take that as you will. Peely had 1, Mike Morris had 1, Riley Mills, J.R. Singleton each had 1, and Jared Ivey had 2, but his pass rush grade was abysmal. 28 pass rush snaps, so maybe you would expect a little bit more, but it's still a little surprising. So Connor O'Toole and Jamie Sheriff seem like they might be the guys who are taking a lead going into the final turn here, as we try to figure out who our 5th edge is going to be. And even if our 5th edge ends up being a guy on the practice squad, you still want to be the guy that the team trusts to put in the game in the event of an emergency. So right now, O'Toole and Sheriff seem like they're stepping it up. We'll see if that carries over to next week, and we'll see who does well against Kansas City. Coverage stuff. Tennessee did not have a very efficient passing game, so for the most part, there isn't really a lot of damage done here, right? Like 35 yards allowed by Chaz Surratt was the most of any player, and it was on 5 targets, which that's not great, but it's also not atrocious. And then you got a bunch of stuff like, Dansby didn't give up any catches, right? 2 targets, 0 catches. And he did not have the penalty. That was Fuller. And Igbenogany also had 1, so you can see why they graded him really well there. Pritchett gave up 3 catches, but it was for 3 total yards, so there's no problem there. Fuller, 4 targets, 19 yards. Got no beef with that. The penalty is unfortunate, but that's a perfectly fine game for an outside corner. D'Anthony Bell, 4 targets, 28 yards. Not super enthused about that, but most of it was on one bigger play. He had the 16-yarder, and most of it was also Yak, for whatever that's worth. So it's not all on him. Like I said, Surratt, they did the most damage on him, but it wasn't atrocious. Jordan Washington gave up the 20-yarder, which was not great, but he also had another good play in this game, I think. Suamalo somehow got in coverage, which ended about the way you would expect. The Igbenogany thing, I don't get this one, because he had the penalty, but other than that, 3 targets, 1 catch, 13 yards. I got no beef with that. Nothing wrong with that. So to me, Igbenogany played fine. Not as good as he did last week, maybe, but definitely getting punished in a way that I didn't expect here. Ecoles got beat up, sure. And Chris Paul, I mean, in terms of the numbers, it's okay, but they thought he played really poorly in coverage overall. 3 out of 5 for 18 yards, but they graded him miserably, so It's not surprising, right? Younger players that don't have a lot of experience usually have a hard time knowing where to be in coverage, but there's not a lot of damage here, man. Nobody really got punished that much, it felt like. Okay, so the only thing left would be special teams. And the funny thing is, even though Cody White had the fumbled punt, his special teams grade was still pretty high. So that does tell you there is still some stuff that he does well, but Emmanuel Henderson, who I called out positively in my video earlier, he got graded really well. You had Marvin Jones Jr. also getting a really good special teams grade. So, that might be an opportunity for us to get a little bit cheaper and a little bit younger because Henderson's on that first year of a rookie deal. So if he is coming along to the point where he can be your gunner on special teams, that's great. Maxon Hook, great for him as well. He's up here. The guys at the bottom, Anthony Bell, which is, again, this is kind of surprising to me. I thought Bell was a really good special teamer, but for the most part, every week he's always at the bottom here, it feels like. Aaron Smith missed a tackle, and I think it was, yeah. No, I'm sorry. He didn't. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong column. Let's see here. D'Anthony Bell missed the tackle, excuse me. So that's why it's so low, but that seems to happen quite a bit with him. And I believe, yeah, that was, and Emmanuel Henderson actually missed a tackle too, which is kind of what makes it crazy that his grade was still so good. But other than that, just kind of like a couple of thinkers at the bottom here, but Chris Paul because of the penalty. And by the way, the Dixon thing is crap because he had the penalty, but it was intentional. I don't really know how PFF doesn't have a way to parse that out and understand that it was an intentional delay of game. Also had the penalty on Aaron Smith. And other than that, everything else is just kind of like whatever. Obviously, Myers had the really low grade for kicking, but you didn't need to see PFF to know that. And that's really about it. All right, I'm going to see you guys later. Go Hawks. Might do another video later tonight. But let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys soon. And yeah, go Hawks.